Good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to all those of you who have joined us today here at Expo 2020 Dubai, and to everybody joining us virtually from across the globe. A warm welcome to everyone coming to celebrate this very special occasion as we honor and highlight the work of our unsung heroes from across the globe. Unsung heroes of the COVID-19 pandemic, as you all know, spread across many sectors, many communities, and many geographies, from parents, some of you are here, to school teachers, to sanitation workers and healthcare workers. It is their everyday generous acts that have given us and continue to give us hope in the most challenging of times which we have been living in the past 2 years. Now, we all have a role to play in honoring these unsung heroes in our societies, and as they continue to do everything they can, not only to make us safer and to make our life easier, but most importantly, to give us hope when we need it the most. Now, here in the United Arab Emirates, there's a strong devotion to unsung heroes. And even before the pandemic, there's a commitment and a large appreciation to the tireless commitments and to the tireless efforts that healthcare workers have been doing long before the pandemic. Our unsung heroes reflect honorable examples of the values that the UAE holds, values of health and well-being for all, as the cornerstone for building a better future. It is our collective responsibility to continue supporting the frontline workers and unsung heroes throughout our communities, which is exactly why we're here today, to celebrate them, to honor them from across the world, and most importantly, meet some of the faces behind the large stories we have all seen across social media in the past 2 years. We're going to hear from these heroes as they share their journeys, and we're going to give them gratitude as they basically push us for more acts of generosity. Now, before we jump in, I'd like to also honor everyday heroes. Some of you are in this room as well. So let me ask you a few questions. If your answer is yes, I will ask you to simply stand up and remain standing. Let's start with the first basic question. Have you ever helped someone with a simple errand which they were unable to do? A lot of you do this almost on a daily basis, but you don't like to admit it. So if you've ever helped someone with an errand, could be a child, a neighbor, a senior citizen, someone you don't know. If you have done so, do stand up. I know you have, don't be shy. Yes, you have. Have you recently offered maybe your time to listen to someone who needed a comfort? If so, do stand up. Have you ever maybe taken an initiative to make a change, even a small change that you wanted to see in your community? If you have done that, also please do stand up. Or have you ever maybe dedicated some of your free time volunteering? I know some of you in the room have volunteered in the past in sectors they were not experts in. And maybe finally, have you witnessed a member of your community support someone else who needed help in their time? Some of you are nodding your heads. You are all everyday heroes. It is your simple acts of basically giving care or lending a hand or an ear that give our communities the hope to keep going forward. So give yourselves a round of applause. You are also part of the Unsung Heroes celebration that we are all here to celebrate and highlight today. Thank you so much. You may be seated. So to open up our event, it is now my great pleasure to introduce basically one of the pillars, if I may describe it as such, which is art, that has managed to change so much of our perspective and sometimes uplift our mood in the past 2 years. And speaking of art, I'd like to allude to the fact that if you are here tonight at 7:30 in the Al-Wasl, there will be basically a light show to honor our unsung heroes, and a wonderful visual exhibit in Sahat al-Wasl tonight at 7:30 for unsung heroes. So do attend that if you are here tonight. It is now my great pleasure to introduce Dairo Vargas. He's a contemporary artist hailing from Colombia, and he's the founder of The Art Listens. Basically, Dairo will be sharing his compelling journey and his efforts in bringing art and his artistic skills to highlight basically emotional wellness and the most important topic, which is mental health, speaking to the power of creative expression to enhance mental and physical well-being. Dairo was unable to be with us physically today, so he will be joining us virtually. He will be live from Colombia. Gracias, Dairo, y encantada.
Hi there, everyone. I'm super excited to be here to share this experience with you all. I only wish I could have made it in person, but coronavirus have other ideas. It is 4 a.m. in the morning here in Colombia, so please do bear with me. I found these pictures of me as a baby a few days ago, so I decided to share it with you to tell my story. I grew up in a small, beautiful town in Colombia. My earliest memories are a clear blue sky, the smell of fresh fruits and flowers, the sound of laughter, and my father's shiny eyes as he chased me and my brothers in a garden game, catching me by my favorite blue t-shirt. My father passed away, and he left a big, empty space. I was 5. My mother has to work very hard to give us food and school. At early age, I realized I was poor. Sometimes school might tease me singing, "You don't have a father." Seeds of negativity were planted in my young mind and body. By 15, everything in my world was losing its color, almost as if the sun had decided to use a palette of gray tones. I couldn't see the fun of things as others were. Nothing seemed to give me joy. Even food was losing its flavor. Just to get up, eat, and think was a daily struggle. By 20, my fear, sadness, guilt, and self-doubt was overwhelming. I couldn't take it anymore. I wanted to take my life. I had a final thought. I would live one more day, and I will experience happiness no matter what. From that day, I started making changes. I started using art mixed with other techniques to heal myself, and over many years, I healed deep wounds. I started working with people, sharing my experiences and guiding them. One of my first projects, here you can see in the picture, was in 2013 with Bernardo's, an NGO supporting the most vulnerable children in the UK. These youngsters express their emotions through painting, culminating in an art exhibition titled 1,000 Words at the Reading Room Gallery in Soho. My paintings were exhibited alongside theirs, and sale profits were donated to the charity. I work with private clinics, with people with brain injuries, children in Colombia, groups in my studio, and individuals who ask for help. I was determined to help others in worse or similar situations to mine. And the Art Listens was born. It is a global project to educate about emotional health using art as a tool to express feelings and restore self-esteem. I was commissioned to participate in several events around the world, including the Ministerial Mental Health Summit in London, where I met the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. They participated, collaborated in one of my paintings. The Summit for Health in Qatar, where Her Highness Sheikh Moza also collaborated in a painting. And the World Health Organization in Geneva, where Dr. Tedros and more than 400 people all collaborated to create a massive painting. Sharing with all these groups, ages, and cultures always gives me joy and the opportunity to see life from a different perspective. And here is me in the studio, as I do have to paint sometimes, or most of the time in a general day. I soon expanded the project, working directly with different people all over the world, from rescued children in Nepal, this is the picture on the left, people with Down syndrome in Italy, to military camps and universities in Colombia. Then the unexpected hit us. COVID came to make massive changes in our lives and play with our minds. A few weeks into the pandemic, I was talking to my family, my nephews, and friends in Colombia and other countries. I could sense a rising terror with every day that passed. I could see the fear in their expressions and how to express those emotions in a panicked isolation. The uncertainty of the future, almost as if we were standing at the edge of our lives. And for me, those emotions were familiar, and I knew I have to do something. I started free classes in Spanish and English through my social media. And I was amazed by the response, like hundreds of people were joining and thousands watched the videos from different countries. And it was beautiful to see all the images that they were sharing with all their works and also messages that they were sending. More opportunities to help people pour in. For example, I help children suffering from severe depression and anxiety in a clinic in Cairo. And in 2021, I started several projects at the same time. Things were getting crazy, but in a really good way. The Havensky Foundation in Moscow supports children with brain cancer. And this project was through both children, was created for both children and parents. And I have a beautiful video to share with you. was a very beautiful experience, and I learned a lot from them. I also, at the beginning of the year, I had meetings with the Department of Education in Colombia and the Institute for Educational Research to show a project that I was also writing, not only aimed at the students, but teachers and families too. So we had several groups. In this image, you can see children from 4 to 7 years old. It was amazing. They are meditating after a breathing exercise. And each class was accompanied by their teacher. Also, we had groups from 8 to 12 years old and 13 onwards. And this year-long project encouraged the expression of emotions and helped to create new realities. We use, for every single class, we use breathing exercises, visualization, and meditation. Also, students created, during the program, they created autobiographies, tales, portraits, letters, sculptures, and it was interesting because it was revealing the agony of losing a father, a brother, a friend. This year, some schools are already implementing the projects in their curriculum. And my hope is that communities, schools, they start to prioritize mental health so people don't have to suffer in silence. Every day, every moment is like a new canvas, a new page to write and paint a new story, to adjust, change, to mix colors that we choose to create a new reality. And this is a video that shows a little video that shows some of the work from all the children in Colombia.
Y lo que sentimos por dentro.
So yes, thank you so much, all of you. I'm really happy to be able to share this experience with you all.
Thank you so much, Dairo, for that. Gracias, muchas gracias. We know it's very early in Colombia, 4 a.m., so you must be tired and you need some rest. Thank you very much for joining us in such an inspiring journey, and maybe a perfect example of how sometimes the most impressive acts of art come after immense pain. All the luck to you, and thank you so much again for joining us. Let's go on to our next illustration as well, and I'd like to introduce to you our next video to also celebrate unsung heroes from all over the world. A powerful video highlighting maybe how our world has immensely shifted and continues to change in the last 2 years, and the length to which frontline workers have gone and keep going to push forward. These unsung heroes we celebrate today have demonstrated exceptional agility and adaptability during these uncertain times. They have worked relentlessly and effectively, ensuring that all of us maintain access to necessary services that have continue to change our lives. I'm pleased to introduce now our next session. Extraordinary times make extraordinary heroes, as all of you have maybe a lot of examples to share with us regarding this topic. Let's enjoy first this brief video shared with us by the Frontline Heroes Office.
سرعة الاستجابة بالنسبة لوظيفتنا شيء وايد مهم. ممكن نخسر روح، هالشيء له دافع كبير، لأن لما نحن نساعدهم نحس إن إحنا قاعدين نساعد نفسنا، إحنا قاعدين نطور من نفسنا، إحنا قاعدين نعطي نفسنا قبل ما نعطيهم.
Merci. Thank you, heroes. 谢谢. شكرا.
Indeed, there is not enough, I believe, there's not enough words or videos of appreciation that we can give to the frontline workers during these tough and challenging times. So we continue, and we should all collectively continue to highlight their work on a daily basis. It is now my honor to get to this upcoming session, maybe where we can get a little more detail on the efforts that was done, particularly here in the UAE. I'd like to introduce Mr. Mohammed Hawass Al-Sadid, Director of Projects, Frontline Heroes Office, who will be joined also with Dr. Kawthar Salim Al-Amiri, Manager of Mafraq COVID-19 Prime Assessment Center. We'll be speaking a little bit more about the efforts that were done in the UAE and how the response to COVID-19 and the unique role as well of the office, the Frontline Heroes Office, in supporting the needs of frontline workers. If you allow me, Mr. Mohammed, first of all, thank you to both of you for being with us today. I'll start with you, having been a frontline worker before you joined the office. You have a unique perspective in the fact that you wear double hats. Give us a little bit of perspective on that journey and what it means to you now that you're looking at it from a different perspective.
Thank you, Jessie, for your invitation to participate in this event, to highlight the exceptional effort of the frontliners, UAE frontliners heroes during the COVID. And it was very emotional video.
It is.
You returned me back 2 years
It is.
back. So let me to recall some exceptional moment that I live with my exceptional team when I was working in the healthcare. So I remember very well the moment that we officially informed that coronavirus announced globally as a pandemic.
March 2020. I think no one will remember that date, like our birth date.
Yeah.
No one will forget.
So at that time, we start immediately preparing ourselves, preparing our medical team, preparing our administrative team, in order to be ready for the first positive case in UAE. As everybody knows that our government start fighting the virus before even the virus arrived to UAE. From our side as a health worker, we start looking to immediately looking to our capacity. Our healthcare facility capacity, how to expand our capacity to the maximum, how to select which services will be continued, which services will be stopped, and how to maintain the continuity of the healthcare services during the COVID. At that time, our main concern is how to provide safe services to our community. At the same time, how to protect our staff, our health worker staff, and their families from the virus. So based on that, we had a lot of meeting, a lot of brainstorming, and we come up with very effective and very, very productive solution against the virus. For example, drive-through screening centers, drive-through vaccination centers, prime assessment centers. We tried at that time to push the virus as much as we can in outpatient base in order to continue providing health services in our hospitals. We think about every single person in this country, regardless the nationality, regardless the professional of the people who's living here. We think about the elderly people who cannot move at that time to the healthcare facility. We activate a lot of very efficient program like home medication, telemedicine, home screening for the elderly people, for the handicapped people, a special program for the kids, a special program for the remote areas, special program to everyone is living. All these programs aiming one target: to protect, to save our community, and at the same time to protect our staff and their families.
Indeed, the UAE was praised as well for being one of the earliest countries to provide vaccination, a wide vaccination drive to everybody in this country. La Tshulun Ham became an international slogan as well. Dr. Kauthar, if you can give us a little bit more of a perspective on your role as well, your crucial role in the assessment office.
Sure. So first, Jessie, thank you again for this lovely invitation. I'm really very happy to be a part of this program. So actually, everything really takes me very back with all its challenges and the time and the efforts that have been invested in such an incredible experience. So the COVID-19 mission had started, as Mr. Mohammed has said, in March 2020. And I remember that day I had all my bags being packed up in a car because I was actually ready to take my children and then meet my husband, who I haven't met for around like 6 months. However, that day exactly, I was informed that I'm going to be a manager for a fever clinic, that 14 days later, there was an innovative breakthrough project that came into form of the Prime Assessment Center, and this is exactly where I work in now. Lots of Prime Assessment Centers have been established.
It was all new. It was new. This whole concept was new.
Exactly. Can you imagine, like, there were times where the whole world did not know really much about the COVID.
Yeah.
And we had to go through different variants and waves of the COVID to come up with a very solidified, knowledge and a unified one to simplify it for the public, to increase their awareness. And then at the same time, you really work hard and to bring all of this knowledge to have a great impact on practice, especially on healthcare professionals and different healthcare sectors. So generally speaking, it was, it grew something in you, and I'm sure everyone had passed through this, whether you want to talk about personal or a professional level. So at the professional level, it did promoted a growth mindset when it comes into me being a family physician or a faculty in a family medicine residency program, or even as being a manager. It would strengthen the skills of leadership, your knowledge and auditing, and knowing more about infectious diseases, what are the precautionary measurements that are really very important to ensure not only the safety of the patient, but also of your own staff. And then all in all, this had actually contributed in development of COVID-19 workflows and guidelines that we're really very proud to share it, even with at an international level.
Let me go back to Mr. Mohammed. We were briefly, and we always hear about frontline workers, and how much should be done, not just to appreciate them, but to ensure the safe environment for them to continue the long hours, not seeing their families, all of that. You've been through it. What can you tell us about the efforts being done to identify these? Who are the frontline workers? Is there a database? How do we know how many are them, and what should be basically offered to them to continue doing this crucial work they do?
As a result of the exceptional effort has been done by the Frontline Heroes in UAE, Frontline Heroes Office established in July 2020 based on the presidential decree, and the office is chaired by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan Allah Hafdah. And our mandate is to listen and to respond to the challenges that Frontline Heroes facing. So we built in Frontline Heroes Office a comprehensive national database, including all the frontline heroes, professional, and the volunteers working actively fighting the virus. So we have a comprehensive database about the whole people working, fighting the virus in UAE across the country.
I know we're there's so much to discuss, but I'm going to try and keep it tight just for time. So we've started this, we went back to March 2020, and now we are all thinking where we were and the madness that was there. Nobody knew a lot of information. And now I'm sure you're very proud to see where things are, at least at this time. Okay, the vaccination are underway. There's a lot more information. But from your point of view, what do you think are the priorities going forward? Now we learned that we need to always be ready. What do you think should be the priority in the healthcare sector?
Well, honestly speaking, the COVID-19 management is actually a very live example of not only a crisis and disaster management, but also in reflecting the very fine arts when it comes into planning, applying, monitoring, and then acting upon the best practice. So I am sure that today we are completely ready for any kind of health-related issues, crisis, and really hope from our own experience that the globe will be enlightened when it comes into humanity care and ensuring that there is less pressure on very big hospitals, supporting the infrastructure of the healthcare in the country as well.
I'd like to ask you the same question as well, but in addition to the priorities that you see forthcoming, maybe the takeaway message you would like to the audience to take and the healthcare workers to take with them today.
Well, I think, because of my message to all the frontline heroes in UAE or even around the world, that by your effort, our kids now can go safely to their schools. By your efforts, the business is going on. By your efforts, we can travel, we can do all the normal activities. So I just want to say thank you for the UAE frontline heroes. Thank you to all the frontline heroes around the world, and thank you also for their families, and thank you also to our community that shows their respect and respond to our frontline heroes during the COVID. And we are very proud that we have these assets. We are very proud in our infrastructure. We are very proud in our community. We are very proud in the respect of the community, as well as the support to our front line.
And so you should be. Dr. Kawthar, maybe the last few seconds for you. I'd like to also ask you maybe the takeaway message you'd like to send in today's event.
Yes, sure. So for all the frontline workers, especially my team as well, who are probably listening to us at this moment, thank you from the heart for all the sacrifice and for the efforts that you've put all together. I know there were times you had to walk in and, let's say, a very high stress environment during this COVID mission. However, it's really very important that you feel comfort and centered throughout this period, and always remember that you remain the cornerstone with such a huge experience that the country will take definitely as being a unique thing, and it will add up a growth in the future in the country. Now, for all the other people who are listening to us today, I am sure that it have been a very tough times, but with probably different extreme exhaustions. However, you had noted that you're becoming highly resilient with all the rising up challenges and had adapted to different things around you. Continue in inspiring people. Continue in encouraging those around you. Gather all the health routines, things, laughter, high ambitions. Express your gratitude. And this might be a very simple message. However, when you come and think about it, it does really will give you a reward that will drive you for the best in the future.
Thank you so much. Quite a lot of effort and emotions and pressure in that sector. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad Hawass Al-Sadir and Dr. Kawthar Salim Al-Amri, for sharing part of your inspiring journey and being part of the Unsung Heroes celebration. Thank you so much. Yes, you deserve a round of applause. It is now my pleasure to introduce our first storytelling interlude of the day. Quite a unique character, The Power of Melody to Heal, featuring our next guest, Eleonora Borisova. She is a pianist who performs at Burjeel Hospital here in Abu Dhabi. She has a unique journey to share on how she uses her skills, her art, and her music to uplift and give hope, to uplift the spirits of healthcare workers, of patients, and of doctors at the hospital. After her talk, we'll try to see if we have a little bit of time to squeeze in some of your questions. Eleonora?
First of all, I want to say thank you so much for inviting me and to give me an opportunity to be part of such a special event. I'm working as a pianist in hospital, and I'm really happy that I work exactly in the hospital in that time of a very difficult situation with the virus, because I can share my art, my music with the people. I can support our doctors, nurses, and patients to play my music, play their favorite songs. My goal as an artist in hospital is to make very relaxing, very soothing atmosphere, to help people relieve their stress, to make them feel comfortable, feel happy, and enjoy their time while they're waiting their appointments or have the duty. To make this atmosphere, I'm focusing on, first of all, how I'm touch my piano, on my manner of playing. I'm always using very soft touch for achieve a very beautiful, soft, and gentle sound. Because if I will play in my full power, it can disturb someone, it can boost headache or bring more stress. That's why I'm very focusing, first of all, how I'm playing. My daily playlist includes different genres of music, such as classical pieces, my own arrangements of pop music, Arabic music, some Indian music, rock, and contemporary classic music. And whatever I'm playing, I'm always listening which kind of sound going out of my fingers, because my goal is bring to very comfortable and relaxing atmosphere, first of all, to make people feel, make them go out of their stress and some hard emotional conditions if they have. Also, I'm performing my own compositions and improvisations every day. And one of my compositions, which you will hear in a minute, it calls Music of Hope. I composed that music 2 years ago when the situation with the coronavirus was the most critical. Everyone was very scared. No one knows what will happen in the next few days, which news we will receive tomorrow, what will happen with us, with our families. Music of Hope, it was the act of the gratitude to all doctors, nurses, health workers, because every day they saving our lives. They really heroes for me. They sometimes sacrificing their own lives to help us and save us from the virus and help us to survive. Also, sharing my music with the people, I want to show that art can play a very important role in our daily life. It's a fact that music can change our mood, our mind. It can bring us different feelings, happiness, sadness, or whatever. It can give us energy, or opposite, it can make us feel peace in our soul. It can touch our heart. And that's why I think we must pay more attention on the art in our life. Nowadays, it's even exists music therapy. It's a part of the psychotherapy which helps people to improve their mental health by listening music, by playing some musical instruments, singing songs, or creating own songs. And I can say from my experience that it really can help, because it happened to me 5 years ago, even before COVID-19 started. I had very high level of anxiety after a panic attack which happened to me. And composing my own songs and singing my favorite songs and also my own songs with the lyrics, it helped me to reduce my level of anxiety and back me to my normal emotional condition. And that's why I want to suggest everyone to pay attention on the art. And if you have some tensions, some negative thinking, try to express your negative energy into the art form. You can sing your favorite songs, create your own songs, or just listen some beautiful music. And also, I would like to recommend to pay attention on the daily music which you're listening in your home, in your car, in your headphones, because it really can affect our mood. It can improve our mind, especially live instrumental music. Because when musicians play in the live instrument, musician bring part of his soul into his performance. And it will be great if you can attend some live performances, but of course not now, a little bit later, when the situation will be better. And I wish you to stay safe, healthy, be creative, take care of your loved ones. And I would like to play my composition, Music of Hope. I hope you will enjoy. Thank you.
I've had the pleasure of listening a little bit as you're practicing today. Do we have a couple of minutes for taking a question or two? By the time they'll let us know if we have some time. Have a seat. I wanted you to sit down from the beginning. You're an artist. You need to be resting all the time. Let me ask you a quick question before we maybe listen to one of your wonderful pieces. If there are no questions from the audience, I will give you priority. If you have a question, let me know. We'll pass a microphone to you. If not, I will ask you the timeout. Are we time? Okay, quickly, just quickly, since we sat down, 30 seconds maybe. Walking into a hospital and is already not an easy task to do. There's a lot of cases. Some patients are terminally ill. The healthcare workers most of the time are under immense pressure. And then there's you playing this wonderful pieces that give hope and positive energy. How and what do you do as an artist in not your usual setting to continue yourself to exude this positive energy when you yourself could be affected by your surroundings?
First of all, I also try to believe in the positive things, to be relaxing, and I try to give this positivity to my audience also. Express my feeling into the music, playing different genres and also my own compositions, because I want to share with the people. I want to share this positive energy, very relaxing tunes, for they feel really comfortable and relaxing. So,
all right, since we alluded to it so many times, I will let you go ahead and express it. I'll invite you please to take your seat at the piano and choose one of your wonderful pieces so we can enjoy. Thank you so much. Eleonora, thank you so much. Your music is hopeful, it's delightful. Thank you, and thank artists as well for what you all do on a daily basis to basically bring back the attention we need to be giving to our mental health. I'd like to introduce our next guest, another artist, this time an Emirati artist, an Abu Dhabi-based photographer, a unique character and a unique storyteller. You will see why in a bit. Noor Al-Niyadi is a UAE documentary photographer. She was one of the first young photographers to venture out in the United Arab Emirates to take photos of the frontline workers at the early stages of the pandemic. She'll be sharing with us her story today. The stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Jessie. Hello, everyone. My name is Noura Niyadi. I come to you from Abu Dhabi. And I'm a photographer who enjoyed going on missions around the UAE and internationally as well, telling the stories of so many concepts and mainly people. My inspiration is people mainly and where I came from. I was living the perfect life, the way I like to put it out before the pandemic hit. The perfect life to me is having a camera that is fully charged with an SD card. Fellow photographer can relate. So when the pandemic hit in May 22, when that happened, I was in my line of work. I completely didn't know what was happening, just like everyone in my environment. We started the news with words we did not hear before. The word pandemic, I've heard it first in university when I was studying. The visibility of masks around us was a new thing. So we were asked to stay at home. We were asked to follow certain rules that we did not know where they came from. And May 22 is a very special timing because my mom is part of Mr. Mohammed's team, and I stopped seeing her as often when the pandemic started. But something very interesting came out. One day I was driving from Al-Ain to Abu Dhabi, and I saw a giant tent, a giant white tent that has the slogan, La tshillun ham, which do not worry. It's a famous quote by our leader, Allah yahfadha, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, Allah yahfadha. So I was like, this is interesting because coming from the UAE, tents are a symbol of celebrating occasions and a social kind of event. So I was like, interesting, what's going to happen there, Sahha? Is it going to be a party or what, some kind? Only to find out that a very interesting invention for me that these tents were put there for you to drive. Just roll down the window, get your COVID test, and then leave safely. And I was like, this is very interesting. What kind of people would be staying in those tents, spending a lot of time, and at the same time will put their life into pause? And what I mean when I say will put your life into pause, meaning I was not having the luxury to phone my mom and call her anytime I want. And those people actually left their houses, left their families, and left their hobbies, their life, what they love, and decided to serve us. And I was, being the curious photographer that I am, I was like, what kind of people are? Back then, the word frontliner was not there. So I was like, I need to meet those faces. My mom or Mr. Mohammed are not enough. I wanted to meet more of them. I want to see into their eyes and learn more. So the inspiration behind the project is eyes. I love eyes so much. To me, eyes are a symbol of beauty. Not only that, but eyes tell you the status of a person, their mental health. Are they happy? Are they worried? Are they determined? Are they strong? Do they need help? And this is the first thing you spot if someone needs help, if they fail to tell you that. So when the pandemic started, we started wearing these beautiful things that you guys have, that we secretly hate and can't wait to get rid of, hopefully one day soon, inshallah. And this mask accentuated the beauty of eyes. Behind the mask, the eye speaks louder, and then they are more visible. So that was the inspiration behind the eyes. stories. I was fortunate enough to be allowed to get on my car and drove around the lane and Abu Dhabi visiting those tents. And there were a total of 5 tents actually. The project took me 30 days of shooting. This photo was taken the first day coming to those tents. For me, I've been to places around the world, special places around Africa and the North Pole, and it's very common for me to be places where it's not, the environment is a bit risky or whatnot or what forth. I was like, it's going to be a usual environment where people are busy working. I'm just gonna grab a talk with them and just struck a photo and that's it. Little did I know that it was like a busy beehive. Everyone knew what they were doing. Everyone knew where they were supposed to be standing and serving people. Except they have a noisy photographer around them trying to capture photos and trying to meet them. I did not want to only take a portrait. I wanted to speak to every individual that I met. Started speaking and trying to grab a small talk of all the people that I met. I found out that there is a mental tension. They were tense, they were busy, they were like, did not even want eye contact. And I was, listen, Noura, just take a step back. This is not your usual environment. People are not their usual selves. They're fighting something they cannot see. They have not seen their families for months, and they are just mentally tired and frustrated. And to be able to fight the unknown, that is a whole level of being a warrior. In this photo here, for example, when I first asked these 3 frontliners to get for a photo, they gave me that kind of blunt, I've got it all together, but I knew this is not who they are and there is more to it. So I just told them like, you guys know that you are superheroes. I look at you and I see Superman, Spider-Man there. Can you give me that kind of pose into it? This is when the whole story started. So what happened next? After visiting the very first tent, I was like, this is enough. My mom was calling me all the time, telling me, this is enough, Noura, come back. What are you doing? My friends who are seeing this and being here. I did not contact anyone for a full month. I didn't spend time with anyone and I had to quarantine. And I was rushing as fast as possible to conduct my whole project. And I didn't want to miss anyone. And you can relate, when you have a team that is fully dedicated, you do not want to miss anyone out. And we were faced by Ramadan coming, and I didn't want to spend Ramadan doing the project. But I know that I say a lot of things and I plan a lot of things, but life happens. Ramadan started while I was in the project, and Ramadan for us in the UAE is a month in which we spend it with our loved ones and family. We take joy and happiness by spending it with our family. So I had to quarantine for a full month away from my family. Both parents were upset at me and my siblings as well for not being there. But it was, let me tell you, it was the most precious time of my life. Every face that I met, every soul that I spoke to, that left something in my heart that I will never forget. So what happened after doing all of the project, I ended up with 162 pair of eyes with a 162 story and a very interesting quote that they told me. I'll share some of them with you. So as mentioned and as Jessie said, frontliners are not only health workers, doctors and nurses or health officials, but they are also just people like anyone in the room. They're people of security workers, like cleaners and surgeons as well, all kind of people. And for me, every face of those inspired me to be or to hope to be as close as what they did. For example, here, those 3 gentlemen, they're actually 3 brothers, decided to leave their jobs and start volunteering in these tents. One of my own personal favorite here is Sana. Sana is doing her, she's one of the evacuated students, the international evacuated student of the UAE. When she first came from the state, leaving her university and putting her university study into pause, she gathered up her group and then they did their quarantine and then they scattered around tents trying to volunteer. And there was a language barrier. This was interesting to mention. I interviewed a lot of nationalities, a lot of people, but again, this is what makes our vibrant society in the UAE. This cleaner right here is one of my favorite as well. I didn't have a full conversation with him, but the moment he saw me with my camera, he said, "Come, take a photo with me and my mom and my dad." And this tells you, like, in hard times, people always go back to their strong emotional system, what supports them best, what makes them feel good, and what is there for them. Dr. Salama here, what was one of the emotional interviews with her, and some of the interviews left me into tears, but I have to keep like a straight face. Some of the doctors burst into tears. Dr. Salama was telling me, "I miss my family so much, and I want you to take a photo of me, and this is how I'm gonna look like hugging someone, and I miss hugging someone." Some of them loved hearing their family voices. Doctora Sheikha, just like what Doctora here said, Doctora Sheikha, it's been 2 months of her not seeing her parents serving in the front line. All of these, this is just an example of what actually happened, and there is more into it and the coffee break, and I'm more than happy to tell you more about this and share with you stories, but mainly a more pleasure to be part of this event. Expo, the way I like to look at it, Expo restored our hope that life is going to be back to normal. And this is what Expo means to me, and I'm very fortunate to be here. And Eleonora said something that I really loved. For us creators and artists, whatever we do, we always make sure to leave a piece of our soul or heart, either a photograph or a beautiful piece of music. And I think this is what matters the most. Feelings and being strong at heart, it's what keeps everyone going. And thank you so much.
Noura, you put a smile on everybody's face with this project. And I'm sure we'll be taking a look at these wonderful, beautiful pieces of art in your exhibit during the break. Shall we see, can Noura take maybe a question or two from the audience? Would anyone like to address a question? Let me know. There's quite some bright lights, and maybe your eyesight, being a photographer, is better than mine. If you, okay, if you have a question, please do raise your hand. Oh, okay. We have since you alluded to Mr. Muhammad several times. So Mr. Muhammad is suggesting maybe a recap of the photos.
So this is a very interesting question, and it hits a very emotional thing into me. When I first finished the project, just like all of you, we thought the pandemic is just going to be a couple of months and we're out, and it's just something that passes by. A flu, let's just say. And I was like, interesting, all of these faces, all of these tents are going to go away with time. But after 2 years, going back to these tents and seeing the same faces, and the moment I removed my mask, they would recognize me, and then they would call all of them working in the tents, "This is Noura coming, this is Noura." And they used to call me the happy lady with the camera, because I thought it's only going to be for me doing the project. But I found out, and this is actually what made me continue going to all of this tent, it was an exercise for everyone to laugh and have a good laugh and enjoy themselves. So it was a very good distraction being around, and they loved having me, and I was so pleasured. So one time I visited and I see the same face exactly, one of the faces, and she started tearing up and she said, "See, it's been 2 years and I'm still here." And I was like, I started tearing up as well. And I told her, "Yes, but look at you, you're very beautiful and still looking like getting everything in control, and I'm so proud of you."
Noura, you're such a positive force in and of itself. Everybody can notice the moment you walk in a room. You have that wonderful positive vibe. As a photographer, your photos tell a lot of stories and make positive impact. But what I'd like to know is, what did this project teach you as Noura? What did you learn from it? Something you had not thought of before. It was obviously new on so many different levels.
For me, I think this project taught me to take my time looking at everyone's eyes. As I told you, I love eyes so much, and it's a special language. Only those who take their time to appreciate beauty will enjoy what this beautiful life is all about. So this project taught me to take my time to view everyone's eyes and do not, never ever hesitate to ask anyone or check on anyone around you. How are you doing? How are things with you? I noticed you're not smiling as much. Are you okay? Do you need some help? I am there for you. And sometimes it just takes a question for people to feel that somebody's there noticing and checking up on me. And this one thing that kept us feeling good during the pandemic.
Certainly a window into the soul, as they
Yes.
say. Eyes are. Thank you so much, Noura,
My
for
pleasure,
sharing
Jessie.
this wonderful project and your initiative, your personal initiative to do something so life-changing. And it's historical because you documented a historical part of history in this country as well. I invite you all to... We have a question? Really quickly, if we can. Go ahead. Yes, okay, go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank her for this inspiring job she's doing. Really. I am doctor, by the way. I'm Dr. Sohail from Tunisia. Just a question about making photos. Did you went to inside the hospitals just to check the patient, especially in this, and take picture of the eyes of the patient? Did you made this? It can be very interesting. As it's our job, we can see that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for your question. Mainly, it's very important for me for you to understand the danger when it comes to this. One of something that I was like staying up awake all night, that I did not want to be patient X. So what happened is that before going to the tent, I have to test and wait for my result. After leaving the tent, I have to test and wait for my result, and then continue doing that with every tent. So that was a personal kind of responsibility, and my responsibility towards everyone was working and their hard work.
And your family.
It was not easy to be places where patients were. These kind of incubators and places were not easy to have people, and I did not, if one thing, this project, I did not want to jeopardize anyone's health.
Again, Noura has done this project when most of us were cooped up at home, worried to even step...
I missed a lot of TV shows.
You didn't miss much, Noura. What you've done was certainly time-changing. I think, are we out of time? Is that what I see? One more? Okay, let's do one more, Noura. You're getting... Go ahead. تفضلي.
More than happy.
شكرا. آمال عبيدي وكالة أنباء الإمارات. عندي سؤال سريع للأخت نورة. العمل في وسط يعني الصراحة كان بالنسبة لنا رعب وخوف. الشجاعة اللي كانت عندك وقتها أن أنت تقتحمين هذا المكان المخيف، فنبغيك تكلميني عن هالشيء. وبالعادة الناس لما تصور أغلب الناس تروح حق المناظر الطبيعية والزهور، أنت رحتي مجال مختلف تماما. ويعطيك العافية.
Allah يعافيك. شكرا وايد. Thank you so much. I'm gonna answer her question in English. Thank you so much, Amal, for your question. Amal asked me about the environment that I've been in, shooting and all of that. For me, the concept of beauty is not all. Beauty is everything. Beauty is everywhere around us. Beauty is not only vibrant colors or perfectly orchestrated landscapes. Beauty is within, in our eyes, and what happens to us in the fortune and the misfortune. So for me, as I mentioned, I was just curious to get to meet those people. And for me, I just found out that these people are just normal people like me. It could have been anyone that I love. And I think what actually made me feel good, and going back to the doctor question, is that if I was doing this in hospitals, I would feel as worried. But the tents, trust me, the way they were designed, the way they were put,
Safest
and
place probably at the time.
it looks
Yeah.
very comfortable, and they were very perfectly put together. And they had the big لا تشيلون هم. So every time I go and I see لا تشيلون هم, of course I'm not gonna أشيل أي هم. And the way it was, I'm so happy and thankful that we have such a thing in the UAE.
Right, certainly very inspirational. Again, I keep standing up, but I know there's so many questions. We keep standing up and sitting down. I invite you to maybe continue this conversation with Noura alongside pieces of her exhibit right outside during our upcoming break, maybe 10 to 15 minutes if we have time for that break. We have a lot of things going on during the break as well. We have a live painting happening as well alongside Noura's exhibition. Cholo Juan is an artist who will be doing a live painting, which you also will get a chance to see, and we'll see you back again in, should I say 15 or 10? If I say 10, you'll take 15, so let's say 10. See you in a bit. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the brief break and maybe had the chance to take a look at the exhibit going on. And I love how I see some networking going on and some of you exchanging stories and experiences. Before we continue, allow us to share with you a brief video from our colleagues and friends at the World Health Organization, highlighting the continued efforts being done by healthcare workers across the world.
Imagine a world in which there were no health or care workers to turn to when you were sick and needed medical care or attention. It is difficult to imagine, isn't it? The global crisis caused by the COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the challenges that health and care workers face every day as the first line of defense in combating this disease. They risk their lives and fear for the lives of their loved ones to save and protect us. We need to recognize and commemorate all health and care workers who have lost their lives during the pandemic. And in appreciation of their tireless dedication and sacrifice, World Health Organization has designated 2021 as the International Year of Health and Care Workers under the theme Protect, Invest, Together. It is time for us to protect our health and care workers, to protect their rights for decent working conditions, provide them with safe working environments and the support they need. Long hours working in highly stressful environments, psychological distress and anxiety, fatigue, occupational burnout, and sometimes even physical and psychological violence have taken their toll on our healthcare heroes and the backbone of the COVID-19 response. And they need our support. It is time for us to invest in jobs and education for health professionals. The world faces a global shortage of 18 million health workers, and without investment in the health workforce, we will not achieve universal health coverage or the Sustainable Development Goals. We are all in this together, and so today we ask you to add your voice to those calling for additional investment in the healthcare workforce. World Health Organization is calling on your support and action to ensure that our health and care workers are supported, protected, motivated, and equipped to deliver safe healthcare at all times. It's time for us to act.
Such incredibly inspiring stories are coming out, and our next story is coming also from a hero, which will share her journey and collaborative efforts. It is my honor to introduce Dr. Ujala Nayar, National Professional Officer with WHO, serving in PEI Punjab in Pakistan. Speaking as a frontline worker in the field herself, leading routine vaccination efforts, Dr. Ujala will talk about the role that women have and continue to play in ensuring continuous service flow in resource-limited areas. Welcome, Dr. Nayar, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, and thanks for Expo for giving this opportunity to we people. Before letting you people know about me as Dr. Ujala Nair as the Provincial Polio Surveillance Officer, I would like to go through a video which tells the story of polio program. Please. All right. So basically, I was born in a small city, Gujranwala from Pakistan, which is also known as a city of fighters and wrestlers and foodies. When I was young, one of our neighbors, he was in a UN agency, and he used to have a white Land Cruiser. And that was my first inspiration to join medical profession, because I always thought that I want this car. Okay, so, okay, fine, I'll become a doctor and then I'll get the car. But I never realized that the journey to UN organizations and WHO will be such a difficult one, and then to polio eradication. I have been serving in the program since last 8 years. And when I joined, the first challenge I faced was gender-based. That how, as a female, she is going to be the leading surveillance officer for the largest province of Pakistan, having a very strong surveillance system, and what extra she'll bring, how she will travel. And to prove myself, I had to work day and night. There was time to come to the office, but there was no time to go back. There were long nights, emails, telephone calls, odd hours, and then there was traveling. And that traveling was something like, in a day, you are going 500 to 600 miles. And when you are reaching a particular village or place, there is no washroom. And what are you going to do? In the beginning, I was like a bit shy. And then I realized, okay, the whole field is yours. Go anywhere in the field. So that journey was not only for myself, it was for the polio program. When I joined in, after that I realized how big this dream of eradication is and how difficult it is. In this lifetime, I don't think so we can see more than 2 or 3 eradications. Smallpox, most of us were not there at that time. Now polio, and what after this? So that tiring journey to the world gender-based program, where females are placed at the front line, because it is learned from the field that females are closest to the community, and they are working on their legs whole days in the hot weather, in the cold weather. And I am one of them. And I am proudly saying that I am one of those frontline workers who are working at the grassroots level. From all those obstacles and everything, like we were making progress, my province stayed polio-free for 3 years. Now we are here. Just one case in Pakistan. And we surveillance officers carry the burden of eradication, because our mistake or my mistake can lead to a global disaster. If I fail and leave a trace of this virus over there, it's a failure for the globe. So the stress, the frustration, there are times when we are really low and we just, why the virus doesn't die on its own? I mean, these things are a part of our life. But the life changer was the pandemic, like for all of us. In the beginning, there were fears. We didn't know what to do. What are we going to do? We can't stop the work. During the whole pandemic, every aspect, like everybody was taking work from home, but the polio program was continuously working. Me or all the surveillance officers, they didn't take work from home. We were in the field. We were on the front line because polio surveillance cannot stop. Not only polio surveillance, we supported COVID surveillance as well, and the testing, and then supporting the investigations as well in many provinces and places of Pakistan. And that journey through the pandemic was also tiring for our campaigns. On one side, when the cases were rising, the polio campaigns were stopped for a while. And our hearts were like beating at a rate, I can't tell you that, because if the virus will exploit and it will go out of control, what are we going to do? How we are going to stop it? So after 4 months of halting back the campaigns were resumed with lots of fears, lots of strategic changes. There were like no availability of the masks there and then. So multiple things were managed, masks, sanitizers, and gradually the campaigns were resumed. And in Pakistan, we were dealing with the pandemic and the polio endemic. So we were entirely different because we were continuously on feet. We had to deal with two devils, not one. So from there, during the pandemic, when we resumed the campaigns, then the community myths started arriving. I still remember I went to see a patient, an AFP patient, polio lookalike. And first they hit the child, next day went again. They said the child is in another district, went to that district, they said child is not here. It took us 10 days and a whole machinery to trace the child. And I went there when I told the mother that I need the stool samples of this child. There were 4 people standing with guns on my head that I am going to inject something to the child. And I was thinking that for 2 stool samples, I mean, seriously? But again, all went well. Now we are here. And surveillance continued with our masks. We kept on seeing the patients. Daily, when I was going back from the hospital to the house, I stayed away from my son. I didn't hug him in such a long time period because of this fear of COVID, that I will transmit him infection. I used to always tell him that please stay there. And he was very annoyed with me. He said that you are the only doctor left. Whether there are other people as well, why you are going in the field, why you are not taking the work from home. And I always used to pacify him that seriously, doctors are frontline health workers. Healthcare providers at any level they are the savers of the humanity. And if I will sit back, what my team will say, what the people will say, is she a coward? So that's how I used to pacify him. And I used to tell him, but still, I miss all those times when I cannot hug him. He sits away from me, that I can give him a virus. And this is a polio survivor child. And this is a picture of hope. We can always show and tell that, okay, they are paralyzed limbs. There are so many things. But with the vaccination, during the pandemic, we have saved so many children. And now we are down to 1 case in Pakistan, and there are 4 cases in Afghanistan. And I request and I ask for the investment in the healthcare providers' life and their safety and security. Thank you.
Such inspiring stories, this time coming from Pakistan and your work. Again, I will try to gauge the time we have maybe for a quick question, if so. If you have a question, please raise your hand. If not, I will do a quick question myself. Do you have any questions? No? Yes? Okay. Okay, here we have one question. Let's do that. I'm always... conscious of the time management. It's a bit of a tough task on my side.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Nayar, for sharing your story with us. Can you share a bit more about how you foresee the outlook going ahead, taking your work forward? What do you see the next 5 years, per se, for example, with the vaccination, routine immunization, reaching these really hard-to-reach places? What's needed in the short term and in the long term to really make that a success?
Thanks for the question. Indeed, it's like in the next 5 years, we need to put a lot of effort on the routine immunization. Because of the pandemic, there were lots of fears associated with the families and the parents, and they were not going out. And there is routine immunization, vaccination drop down across the globe, not only in one country or two countries. So in the next 5 years, we need to bring ourselves back to this. We need to sustain the immunity status of the children through SIAs, routine immunization, and in case there is an emergence, through the mop-up campaigns. So I believe now we have completed, like Pakistan for the first time has completed 1 year polio-free. So if we can do it we can go for next 5 years as well. And I see eradications after 5 years, for sure, inshallah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Doctor, for that. Quite inspiring. I think we'll conclude the questions for now and maybe go on to our next phase. You and I will continue our conversation as well in the backstage. We had a table of 5 professionals and representing 5 different countries. Quite an extensive maybe display of Expo 2020, bringing such cultural diversity. Thank you so much for that. We'll continue our conversation maybe in a bit of a short interactive exercise where I'd like to invite you to yourselves think of someone around you, could be a colleague, a family member, who you consider to be a hero, someone who has inspired you on a certain level, personally or professionally. Think of that person so we can continue the upcoming exercise. Basically, we're going to display a QR code for you to scan. So get your phones ready if you have them handy. I'm sure you do. Every day we probably scan so many QR codes. Just to think, 2 years ago we hadn't even had QR, and now here it is every day and everywhere we go. So you can do 2 things to take part of this exercise. You can either scan the QR code, which simply will take you to the question, where you will input one description, one word for you to describe that hero in your community or in your workplace. How would you describe them? What do they make you feel? What is one word you can describe them? If for any reason the QR code is not working or your camera is not captioning it, you can simply go to menti.com, that's MENTI.com, and input the code, the digits code here below, so you can go on, see the question, and you can enter multiple words if you like, or multiple adjectives. The whole purpose of this exercise is for us to build what we know as a word cloud, and we can exchange stories and see. I'm curious to see what is the word that will be most used. Obviously, if you haven't done Menti before, the word that is most used will be in the middle and probably in larger font. So a lot of you have shared how you would describe your own personal hero. Strong is the word, certainly, that comes in the middle. Brave, selfless, nurturing, fearless, confident. Someone wrote community as well, because heroes are a clear part of our day-to-day life as well, and they make such an impact on where we live. One word in Arabic, as-sabr. As-sabr meaning patient. Heroes are someone who are perceived as patient as well, so they can detect who needs help whenever they need it. Well, that's a beautiful word cloud that you have created using words that you certainly describe your own personal heroes around you. Maybe you will be texting them shortly to express your gratitude, or if you take a screenshot of the word cloud itself. We invite you to share it on social media and share the hashtag #MyUnsungHero, tagging as well the accounts that we have mentioned. This is certainly a great display or a summary of the stories we have seen today from different cultures. Going on to our next inspiring story, also from the region, but from a different country. The story strikes a sensitive point because I remember sharing this story as a photo on Twitter when it first popped up. It was basically August 4th, 2020. Something terrible had happened in Beirut, an unprecedented blast, which will go down in history as the largest explosion to hit Lebanon in 2020. And this photo of a nurse carrying triplets in the midst of absolute chaos and a destroyed hospital, the St. George Hospital in Beirut, basically made the world news and front covers when it was later basically recognized that Pamela, the nurse you see in this photo, helped rescue the triplets in the maternity ward where she was doing her regular shift when the explosion hit, and she walked persistently for 5 kilometers with the infants, carrying the infants in her arms. Luckily, this story has a happy ending, and we'll be hearing more from Pamela as the babies have made it and they are healthy, and Pamela continues to be serving, and she's one of the unsung heroes we will be celebrating and hearing from today. Unfortunately, she could not be with us physically, so hopefully we'll be able to hear her story virtually as we connect to her and get a little bit more details about her journey and how she basically continued on from that famous, infamous photo onto the COVID pandemic, which continues as well in Lebanon. I believe we're trying to establish contact with Pamela. We will be a little bit patient as internet connection is up. Yes, I see her. Hello, Pamela. Nice to see you. Pamela Zainoun is joining us from Beirut. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Pamela Zainoun. I'm a pediatric and neonatal ICU nurse. I've been working at St. George Hospital University Medical Center in Beirut for the past 7 years. I'm here today to share with you my story that happened on August 4, 2020, after the Beirut port explosion. August 4 was a normal day for me. I was on duty. I took care of little premature angels at our floor. And as my shift was nearly over, I decided to call my mom to check on her and to tell her about my shift. And as I was doing that, I heard a deep boom happening outside the window. And then the floor shook underneath me and everything collapsed. I was knocked nearly unconscious for just a few seconds. And as I opened my eyes, all I could see was dust and rubble everywhere. It was like a nightmare that day. It was all about the first breath I took that pulled all my strengths back together that day. It was the most difficult breath I have ever taken, knowing that I was still alive and that my hands and feet were still functional regardless of the cuts I could see. The first thing on my mind that day were the premature babies that were under my care and supervision. All I wanted was to find them, and all I wanted is them to be alive. When I reached the babies one by one and pulled them out of their broken incubators, all I was praying for was not to see the color red, the color of blood. I carried these 3 babies down the stairs, 4 floors, till I reached the ground floor of our hospital. And here's when I was shocked by what I saw. I remember seeing people coming inside the hospital bleeding, seeking help from our team. And all our team could do was try to evacuate the patients out of the hospital. The parking lot facing the hospital turned into a mini functional emergency department, if I could say that, since the emergency room at our hospital was completely destroyed. I checked on my babies one last time before I decided to leave to another hospital. Still, at that time, I did not know what had happened. As I walked the streets of Beirut, I then realized what has happened. It was huge and horrible. As I walked farther away from my initial destination, the more I could see people affected by the blast, and the more I could see the damage that has occurred that day. People saw me carrying these 3 tiny humans, and they started giving me their shirts to cover them and protect them. I still could not speak during these few seconds. All my senses and focus were shifted towards these tiny humans I was carrying. I walked around 5 kilometers for an hour and a half until a car was able to pick me up and take me to the hospital that was 7 kilometers away from mine. I was able to find one incubator, and I had put these 3 babies in this one incubator. I did a quick physical exam that day and made sure their temperatures were stable, and I fed them, the 3 of them. I then connected with my colleagues who came to the hospital to help that day, and notified them about my new location and told them that if by any chance they thought they saw the parents, to let them know that the babies are safe with me. Around half an hour passed and the parents reunited with their babies, and then I felt fully relieved. I did not leave these babies until another nurse from our hospital came to continue the night shift with them. I reconnected with the 3 babies and their parents a year after the blast, and I could barely carry these 3 babies. They're big now, they're doing perfectly fine, and they are perfectly healthy. As a healthcare provider that day, I did my best to keep the babies alive and refused to leave without them. It was my duty as a nurse to walk a few extra miles and to be pro-life. I wish my story could inspire you and many people from all around the world to stay strong and never to give up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pamela. Such an inspiring story that also started with just a photo, a viral photo that went on Twitter, which made this story international headlines. Our next story will take us from Lebanon all the way to Canada. Our next storyteller.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. That's the nature of hybrid events, where some of you are with us physically and others are virtually with us. So our next storyteller is the Regional Research Coordinator at the First Nations Health and Social Secretariat of Manitoba. Carla Cochrane, during the COVID-19 pandemic, conducted a wide evaluation of the Manitoba First Nations pandemic response and demonstrated a disproportionate disease burden carried by the Indigenous communities in her country in Canada. Welcome, Carla. We're so excited to hear the results of what you researched.
Hello. All my relations. My name is Carla, and just to give you a background of where I'm from, this is my territory, my region, located in Winnipeg, Manitoba, the heart of Turtle Island, the center of Canada, and specifically looking at First Nations communities. So just to give you a little bit of background about Manitoba and our First Nations communities, we have 63 First Nations in the region, which consist of different treaties. So we're in Treaty 1 territory, that's where I'm from in Winnipeg, but we also have different treaties that are in the region. We also have a population of both on reserve and off reserve, and why I mention that is because it's very important. Our First Nations people tend to be moved from urban settings to rural, to urban to rural. And we're made up of 5 groups. So I am Anishinaabe and I am also Cree. In the region, we have 5 nations. We have Anishinaabe, we have Cree, we have Dene, Dakota, and we also have Anishinaabeg, which is Ojibwe. So believe it or not, we do have islands in Manitoba. They're up in the northern west, or northern east part of the region. And then, of course, just talking about this here, my organization was part of a Manitoba First Nations Pandemic Response Coordination Team. So when COVID happened, of course, we had to address and we had to take note and to look at the ways of what we can do in the region for the pandemic. So these organizations came together. So what we have are different provincial organizations, so the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, ANC. We also have MKO, which looks after the northern part. We also have KIM, which is a health organization in the north, and we also have our organization, which is a health organization in the region. So we came together when COVID happened in March, and of course, very important to note, our communities. Our communities responded really fast to the pandemic. So if you can imagine March 20th, as mentioned earlier, that date, our communities locked down their borders. And what I mean by that is if you can picture different towns or different cities, our First Nations leadership took that initiative even before the province, the federal government, or the provincial government did, to close our borders. And the reason why we did that was because we knew from H1N1 that we were hit hard, specifically with H1N1. So we did this to prevent the spread. So we were very lucky. The very first wave, we had no cases in our First Nations community. But in stating that, in October, we had our very first case for First Nations people in community. And that was a big story because that impacted us big time. So just to give you a little idea here, because it was a team effort and it was kind of like a puzzle pieces fitting together. So the whole pandemic response was made up of different organizations and different people that had different expertise. So as you can see on the chart, we had the pandemic planning and preparedness team. We also had the public health supports training and PPE medical supplies. And we also had different areas. So I'm going to just go back here because if we take a look at social supports, understanding that our communities were impacted in different ways when we think about mental wellness. So we made up some of the areas of harm reduction because alcohol kind of rose. It did rise in the region. Women's Shelters and Domestic Violence Task Force Group. And in addition, community wellness, so mental health, that communication. We also had the social programs coordination, so our policing and public safety for our First Nations communities were impacted. We also had our food security because, of course, people who were in lockdown weren't able to travel out to the city to get food, so we had to find ways of being creative to bring food to the cities. And of course, as you can see, we had other teams. We had our rapid response team who were going out, nurses trained that were First Nations that went out to communities to do the rapid testing. And we also had different areas of policy, communications, and I'll continue that story in a little bit. But of course, a few of the things that I did in the region were the community wellness and social supports. So understanding that mental health was impacted by COVID. So how can we help our communities better understand? And of course, how can we help them to look at it in a way where they weren't frightened or weren't scared? Because of course, if you think back to the time when COVID happened, we were all very scared because we didn't know what it was, what to expect, how long it was going to take. In addition, the messaging. So that was a huge thing. Having First Nations messaging present, because if you can see from a First Nations community perspective, we know our communities. We're the experts. So making sure that we had stuff that directed and actually spoke to us and taking into consideration the different logistics. So if you can imagine, some of our communities are isolated, which means that people have to fly in, or in winter, because it's winter right now back home, and just to give you a view, it's minus 45 degrees back in my region. So it's very cold. So how can people on a winter road get access to the community's food? But at the same time, thinking about it, if someone had to come out of community to go to hospital, how is that done? And how is that planned? So we had this here, if you need to isolate children and COVID, because language is very important. And when we think about the language, we can choose to use different keywords and when we think about children, how they might react. But if we use words like we're keeping, instead of community lockdown, we're keeping our community safe. If we think about wearing a mask, we have a shield. When we think about physical distancing, just explaining to our children that it's our personal bubble. And of course, holidays in our communities, because as mentioned, our community members go back and go to the urban in addition to go back home. So with that, what can you do to keep safe? And how can we make sure that our families are safe during this time? And also data. Data was very, very key and important in the region. And we were very lucky because out of all the provinces, we struck a memorandum with the province of Manitoba to get access to data. And when we say that, we were looking at specific First Nations data that's not always present. And we had different ways of identifying it. So a few of the tasks that I was doing the first 8 to 9 months of the pandemic was looking at different reports. And once we started to vaccinate, looking at vaccine reports, how can we make this simpler for community members to understand? Because if you can imagine staring at grass and staring at all these tables, people might not understand that. So just taking it and making it presentable. And then, of course, one of the very important things that we did too as well was because those data, those numbers, the people that have passed on to COVID that are no longer here are not just numbers. There are our family members, our sisters, our brothers, our cousins. And when we talk about this in the region, we always made sure we took time to recognize this. So as you can see, we took a Purple Heart campaign where we remembered and honored our lost of loved ones. And here it was based on Jennifer Garson, who was one of the youngest at that moment in the beginning to pass on from COVID, and she was only 30 years of age. Her favorite color was purple, so we asked permission from her parents, and she happened to be from my community, if we could do that. And if you take a look to the right, how big of an impact COVID did have during the second and third waves in our region. Dauphin River First Nation, a very small community of 260, lost these 7 people within 2 months. So the one person that we did lose was my auntie, and she happens to be on the left side. And she was part of the group that had passed on. There was an outbreak that occurred in that community. So just to give you an idea, from October to March, we had 155 people pass away, which translates into about 0.75 people per day in the region, First Nation specific. Part of the other role that I did was evaluation, because of course with H1N1, we didn't have anything documented. So important to tell our story, to interview the people taking part, those nurses, those doctors, those frontline workers, those people on the pandemic response coordination team, and to have it as a document so that in case anything does happen down the road, that we do have it. Also, what didn't work, what worked in our region, and what we could have improved. And of course, some of our achievements. So this here, based on the data, what we found was that COVID was impacting us at 20 years younger than it was for the rest of the region. So if you can imagine, that median number for people who were passing away was 80 years of age. For First Nations people, it was 60 years of age. So because of that data and because of that, when people were getting vaccinations, they rolled it out. People who are 100, people who are 90 were vaccinated. And then they rolled it out for First Nations at 20 years less. So people who were getting vaccinated at 80 were 60 for First Nations. And it went down. So people who were 40, general population who were vaccinated, it was 20-year-olds that were vaccinated for First Nations people. So that was important. We also had, because of the big population in the urban region, we had urban vaccination clinics in the city. We also had testing centers that were Indigenous friendly. So as you can imagine, our medicines in our region, when you would go and get vaccinated or when you would go to rapid testing, you would have access to those traditional medicines that were important during COVID. And of course, just to very important highlight that communities really did take the lead. Us as the pandemic response coordination team, us as assisting people getting information, it was our communities that really, truly took that effort to make a big difference with our numbers. Because those early lockdowns and those early restrictions, our numbers probably could have been a lot higher, but we totally avoided the first wave. We got hit in the second. Our numbers were a lot lower for loss of community members, but at the same time for the number of COVID cases in our region. And what we also ended up doing in the region too as well is gave out food distribution. We had fish. It was like a big pile of fish from Fish River Cree Nation, and our pandemic response team ended up giving out boxes of fish to family members during Christmas. So these are just some, but what I want to point out though is that the data that we did collect led the way and helped. Across Canada, the data for First Nations was noted as gold standard because not only were we looking at First Nations people that were identified, because we have identifiers called, like if your status, we know that they're First Nations, but we looked at family linkages. So if mom was sick and the child was not part of status, we would still get that information somehow, some way through family linkages, or they would volunteer and let us know if they're First Nations. And so our numbers were more, it painted more of a picture of the realities of COVID in the region. And even just with this here, having that pandemic response team led to like 114 million being invested in Manitoba for food security, for COVID, just because we were impacted quite a bit. And even when we think about some of the other successes, you know, just having First Nations people take the lead, having First Nations representatives in communications, sharing, you know, and letting people know, you know what, it's going to be okay. This is what's happening in the region, but if we do this and do that, our communities will be safe. So with that, I thank you so much for your time. In my language, we say miigwech, but that's Ojibwe. But thank you so much for having me here, and for the warm welcome in the region. I am very truly thankful for that.
Well, let me see if I can say that correctly. Miigwech, Carla.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so let's see if we can maybe have a question or two. I know you have shared how cold it is. You said it's minus what?
It's minus 45. Well, okay, the day that I left, and I think this was
Is that Celsius?
That's degrees Celsius. So the day that I left, it went to -1, which, you know, you might think like that's still really cold, but people wear shorts in -1 if it's minus 45 because our bodies were acclimatized to it. So it's like, oh, it's so warm out and we're wearing no jackets and we're walking with shorts.
Quite cold. And Carla, I have to say as well, really wanted to share her story and her journey that she flew in yesterday?
I did, last night.
She flew in just last night, a 22-hour flight.
22-hour flight.
I have to highlight this because it's an incredible effort. So thank you for bringing us these stories of your community that we wouldn't have heard of otherwise. Let's prepare maybe a question or two from our audience as well. There's you've stressed or you've highlighted so many issues, and maybe the most important one I noticed is the importance of data collection, not only in remote communities, but anywhere. It could have saved so much time had you had previous data. Let me ask you this. What would you say currently, now, post-COVID, if we can say post-COVID, I don't know, what would be the priority do you think, for your community to have in order maybe to better face any future similar pandemic?
For sure. So one of the things, and this is what I did not know, but the vaccination rates for our communities is about 86% for our First Nations communities. We do have a high vaccination rate, but it is helping in the fight of COVID, but we did recently have a new, like with the Omicron virus, our numbers have went up during Christmas, especially high in the region, and it was being spread quite really fast. So that vaccination is important. Taking those safety measures, the mask wearing, the distancing, you know, that's all very, I think it's just like a group effort when it comes to that.
So on your way back, now that you're thinking of the past year or two, and things have evolved tremendously, maybe my last question would be, what have you learned? Not only that you are on the front line, but you're also part of that community. What would you say would be your main message, a main lesson that you took from all of this?
Yeah, so I think the main lesson overall, and this is just personally, is that to really take time to spend time with your family, take time to know yourself. And, you know, I was so busy before, And it would be to travel and to do stuff and work. And I still work quite a bit. But it really taught me how to slow down and to truly appreciate life and to truly appreciate connections. Like, as I mentioned, you know, just the loss of community members. We lost a lot of community members in the region. And I know quite a bit of people that we've lost. And that was a really heartbreaking, even my auntie, like, and my nephew, my step-nephew, it's a really, I don't know, just really truly appreciate life. That's what I could say. That's what I learned through the whole pandemic.
That message crosses borders of communities and cultures as well. Maybe one last question. I see someone was holding. Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. What are some of the key lessons you can take forward from these incredible initiatives to protect Indigenous communities for the duration of COVID and beyond? Thank you.
I think partnerships are a big one. Just those organizations that I showed, having people that are First Nations that take the lead, the experts, that made a big difference. But those partnerships, without those partnerships, we would have never accomplished all the things that we did in that short amount of time. You know, and it's just the strong voice, the advocacy, because if you can imagine, it just with some of the funding and some of the jurisdiction issues when it comes to government and the funding that we get, that advocacy and that strong voice really helps.
Well, thank you so much. And thanks so much for not only sharing your stories, but the efforts that you do. And I'm sorry for your loss as well. I know it wasn't easy for you to share your personal side and your personal loss, but yet again, you're taking that to keep your efforts going forward. Thank you so much, Carla. We hope you enjoyed the rest of your time in Expo, and I invite you to enjoy our warm weather as well. This brings us maybe to the conclusion of our inspiring stories from all across the world that we have heard since the start of this event. I'd like now to welcome for closing remarks Dr. Maha Barakat. She is the Director General of the Frontline Heroes Office, also board member of numerous prestigious public health institutions in the UAE. She's a strong advocate for equitable access to health and education and remains committed to quality healthcare for all. Doctor.
Thank you very much. So it's really quite a privilege for me to stand in front of you. We've heard incredible stories from true heroes from around the world. And just to give you some context and background, for instance, smallpox, we know it's a disease, the only disease in the history of mankind that's been eradicated. It was eradicated in 1979, 1980. If that disease had not been eradicated, and remember these are all the efforts of frontline workers, 40 million people would have died. If we didn't do all our efforts with neglected tropical diseases over the last 10 years, over 600 million people would now have debilitating disease. If we didn't do all our efforts to try and control and eliminate and eventually eradicate malaria, we'd have over 7.6 million people, mostly children, die in the last decade. All of these were prevented. And then if you fast forward to today with COVID, over almost 10 billion doses of vaccines have been administered worldwide. And we all know, the grim figure of almost 6 million people have died. I believe it's up to 5.6 million people have died of COVID, unfortunately, in the last 2 years. Imagine if we didn't have the frontline workers supporting them in hospitals, getting the health systems as strong as possible, and administering the almost 10 billion doses of COVID vaccines. Imagine what that grim figure would have been. It would have been multiples more. So we have an incredible gratitude to offer our frontline workers. And in return, for their sacrifice, I think policymakers and countries need to pledge the following. We need to support them. We need to support them with their needs. We need to protect them. So not only are we putting them in the front line, but we have to do so responsibly and make sure they have the right protective equipment, the right training, and we need to make sure we can prevent whatever is causing the outbreak or the duty that they have from affecting them personally. We need to make sure that we support their health physically and mentally, and we've heard stories about the sacrifices in so many countries. And then lastly, and most often this has been overlooked, they have to be remunerated appropriately. And this is so important, not only for increasing their retention in this difficult job. So, and remember, not all frontline workers don't always stay in the same job. They frequently get exhausted and retire or move on to another type of profession. But we really need to keep incentivizing them to continue as a frontline worker. So remuneration is so important for not just retaining them there, but also for recruiting new individuals who would like to go into that vocation. And it is a vocation. So on that note, we owe them an incredible thanks. And if you allow me, if you allow me to start a round of applause to celebrate our frontline and unsung heroes all over the world. Thank you. So on that note, I'd like to hand back to Jessie, and thank you all very much for an incredible day. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Barakat. Before I conclude, and I thank every one of you who took part of today's events, we have two things. We have a group photo to commemorate this event. Shall we do the group photo first? Let's go ahead. Who is taking part in the group photo? Please come forward, otherwise it's a one-person photo. No, you are our unsung heroes, so I invite all of you, please. Yes, all of you. I would like a director to direct you go ahead and let them know. Yes. Well, they're maintaining social distance, huh? So you cannot get them too close together. Yes. I'll grab it, doctor. Trials and tribulations of a COVID group photo era. All right, I'm not wearing my mask, so thank you. I'll stay away from everybody as much. Thank you so much. Always, the doctor always has a mask in their pockets. All right, it's gonna be tough, doctor, with my mic and my makeup. Allah yustur. I shall keep this mask as a nice memory. Before I conclude this wonderful event and the inspiring stories, we have one unscripted moment that we shall highlight. May I kindly invite Ms. Nadia Verji to join us, the Chief of Staff to Director General, Her Excellency Reem Al Hashimi, and Chief of Expo 2020, Dubai's Program for People and the Planet. Hello, nice to see you again.
Hey, great to see you.
You too as well. We will be basically, would you like me to announce it? Or, okay, should I spoil it? I'll spoil it. We would like to present Dr. Barakat, basically a highlight, which is the live painting that was going on during the breaks that we were discussing. It's a tribute piece, basically, that will be presented by Nadia to Dr. Barakat. It's highlighting frontline workers across the world. It is a collective work of art that was done by artist Cholo Juan, with basically contributions from the unsung heroes themselves here today. They all took part in this painting, which we all see together. It captures the tireless efforts, basically, that have been made possible for us to move forward in our communities and to keep our societies going forward, even in the hardest of times. Enjoy. This is
and Dr. Barakat, this is just a very small tribute of thanks and appreciation for you and everybody that you represent. Without you, we would not be here at Expo. We would not have been able to stay open for 2 years to deliver on our promise to the world. So this represents just a gesture of what we feel in our hearts. Thank you very, very much.
Beautiful piece indeed, that highlights this historical time. Thank you so much. This brings us to the end of our event today. I do like to remind you that if you're still here tonight at 7:30 p.m. at Sahat Al-Wasl, the big dome in the middle, there will be a fantastic light show to commemorate the efforts of healthcare and basically frontline workers, and celebrate and highlight today's event. Thank you so much for being with us, and thanks to all the frontliners from all the sectors, arts, healthcare, education, who decided to share their stories with us. A big thanks to the organizers and to Expo 2020, which continues to bring us inspiring stories from all across the globe. I'm Jessil Moore. It was my pleasure to be your host for today. Thank you so much, and enjoy your evening, and continue to honor our unsung heroes on our daily lives. Thank you.